Water utilities have until October 2024 to comply with the revised lead and copper rule, and predictive modeling can help accelerate the process of finding and removing lead pipes. To learn more about this, I sat down with Deheer from Trinnex, who helps utilities save time and money with tools like leadCAST Predict. We talked about how predictive models work, how to get regulators on board, and her take on responsible AI. Check it out.
When it comes to responsible AI, there are a lot of pillars that make up this concept of responsible AI. And we, try to focus on them on a daily basis in everything that we do because it's so critically important. But I'll just break one of them down for now, and that's data quality and representation. So basically just the concept that the data going into the model should be representative and it should be scrutinized to make sure that it's high quality and not biased. And so where Trinnex is unique is we co-developed our leadCAST Predict solution with water industry experts with decades of experience. So folks from CDM Smith who have spent their careers building water distribution systems, who really understand the nuances of the data that we're looking at to try and make these predictions.
What kind of utility should take advantage of predictive modeling?
Any utility really that has a lot of unknowns in their service line inventory can take advantage of predictive modeling. It's a pretty good pool of utilities out there that can take advantage of this technology. Of course, we have to consider data quality, right? So the data going in is definitely going to be critical in determining the quality of the output that you get. So if a utility is not confident that they have good data to create a predictive model, we can help them collect that data and validate it and make sure that we're putting good data into our model. So there really isn't any candidate utility that I would think that would say we don't want to do predictive modeling unless they really don't have many unknowns in their service line inventory.
How do you train these models, and what data are you using to do it?
So we start by a representative sample of field verification. So people going out into the field and physically, verifying the material of the pipes of a subset of the unknowns in the inventory. And it's important that that's representative, right, of the unknowns. In order to have a good model, you want the data that you're using. So those field verifications to be unbiased and representative of the unknowns that you're going to predict for. So we take those field verifications and then we add to it things like, assessor data, the utilities records, like maybe historical build out information, and then demographic data from the US Census, really anything we can get our hands on to ascertain trends and patterns around service line material in that set of known data. And we use that information to predict for the unknowns, what the material may be.
If you want to learn how machine learning can save time and money during the inventory process, check out Trinnex's leadCAST Predict. Okay, back to Katie. Are you able to coordinate with utilities and state regulators to get approval to use predictive modeling?
Yeah, absolutely. We are working with utilities in several states right now. And, we'll start out by describing our approach formally to the state regulator and answering their questions. And if they have specific guidance and things that they're looking for, we tailor our message to make sure that we address, those concerns of the particular state. And what we also have seen the states and the water utilities appreciate too is taking our experience working with other states. Other states have asked these types of questions. So, even though that wasn't in your direct guidance, we'd like to talk about that with you and see if you have any questions about it. So just kind of supporting the community learning.
Where have you seen this technology improve the lead service line replacement process?
I'll give you an example of a community that we're working with in New Jersey. First of all, they have very little lead in their system that they know of, lead or galvanized requiring replacement. But they have a pretty aggressive plan to replace all of it in a pretty aggressive time frame. So for them, they need to focus more on which properties they can deprioritize, right? We don't want to spend our time and resources going to properties that have a really, really low probability of having a lead service line. what we've done is built a predictive model for them. And, like all predictive models in this context, it's an iterative process. In the first few iterations, the model has been able to classify just under half of their unknowns as having less than 10% probability of being led and with greater than 95% accuracy. So those are definitely, that's a big chunk of properties that they should not be focusing on. And that's time and resources directed to, higher priorities and finding where the lead is. So now our focus is going to turn to targeting the specific properties that are going to be more likely to have lead service lines. So it's kind of like a twofold approach.
Katie, it was so great talking with you today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. It's really been a pleasure to talk with you too.